Do you know how a reformer applies load to your students in a bridge? Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Kayleen. I'm a mechanical engineer and I teach Pilates physics. This is the movement we're talking about today, a bridge on a reformer. It has two primary components, hip extension and knee flexion. And reformer settings can change how difficult the exercise is. First, let's determine the spring behavior. Is it supportive, resistive, or not applicable? In a bridge, we've identified the hamstrings and the glutes as the primary movers. So do the springs work in the same direction as the glutes? Well, our hip extension is going up and down, and the springs are horizontally pulling. So no. Do the springs work in the same direction as the hamstrings? Yes. Both the springs and the hamstrings work to pull the carriage closed. This means the springs behave in a supportive way for this exercise. If you add more springs, you're assisting your hamstrings to keep the carriage closed. If you take away springs, you're making your hamstrings work harder because they have less support. So we know that springs can affect the difficulty of a bridge, but does body weight as well? And this will help me determine if I may need to offer heavier people a different spring setting than lighter people. And the answer is yes. Body weight doesn't just impact how hard it is to lift your hips. It's also creating a downward and outward force that's pushing the carriage away from the home stopper. So if you have more body weight, you have more force pressing outward on the carriage. So let's put some numbers on it to give some context. So in total, about half of someone's body weight is what we're working with to lift and lower. So someone who's 250 pounds has to deal with 125 pounds in the air and pushing the carriage down and out. Whereas someone who's 120 pounds has 60 pounds of body weight that they're working with in the air, pushing the carriage out. This means that with the same spring settings, the heavier person has to do more work to keep the carriage closed. And finally, what about joint angles? This is something that's primarily impacted not only by limb length, but of course you can change it by adjusting the foot bar height or the gear bar setting. Interestingly, when the shin is more vertical, the hamstrings have to do less work to pull the body weight up. And when the shin is more horizontally angled, the hamstrings have to do more work. Now, there are other things that impact how hard a bridge is on the reformer, but they tend to be smaller or more edge cases. And I think we've covered the big ones here in this video. And if you're wondering exactly how this information is supposed to change how you teach, stay tuned for part 2, where I explain how physics has changed how I teach a bridge in a group class.